What is going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics. I thought this would be an interesting video today. Started thinking about, are there certain books that collectors like to keep more than others? Books that collectors generally use to flip to get to other books, are kind of like a stopover book until they get the real key that they really want. And this all came up when over the last couple of years, I've noticed, and I've talked about this with some other people as well. It feels like this book, so Fantastic Four #5, sells a lot more than you think it would. I see it come up for sale all the time on auctions, on Instagram, everything. And it's actually a relatively low census count book. So it's been surprising to see that. And so I didn't know if it was just something where I was just looking for it, so it made it feel like that, or if this book did actually sell more. So what I decided to do is I decided to take a look at the number of sales that have happened in the last year and compare it to the total census or the universal census. And I did that for a number of different Silver Age key comics. I picked out the ones that I felt were like the biggest Silver Age key comics and put them on this list. The ones that if you were putting together your list of Grail books, this would probably be generally what that list would make up, and see if there's certain ones that maybe collectors seem to like more, keep more, don't sell as often versus others relative to their census. And I know this is not going to be a perfect science. This is just for fun. See if there's anything that jumps out. And so this is what I did. I've got this list of 13 books, Silver Age key comics, got Amazing Spider-Man 1, Fantastic Four #1, first Fantastic Four, Tales of Suspense 39, first Iron Man, Hulk #1, the first Hulk, Amazing Fantasy 15, the first Spider-Man, Showcase 22, first Hal Jordan as Green Lantern, Avengers #1, first team up of the Avengers, Journey to Mystery 83, first Thor, X-Men #1, first X-Men, Daredevil #1, first Daredevil, Brave and the Bold 28, first Justice League, Fantastic Four 5, first Doom, and Showcase #4, first Barry Allen as the Flash. So then, took all of these, and I looked at their total sales on GPA. That's what I use for this. I know it's not going to have all the sales. It's not going to have private sales, Instagram sales, but none of these will. Within the self-comparison of these sales, it's all consistent. We're not going to have a complete set of sales. We can't see the actual total sold number, but it gives us a good comparison between each of these books. So I looked at the universal 12-month sales, and then I looked at the total census, and I just compared the percentage sold versus the census count. And I feel like some interesting information that came out of this. Specifically, two books really jumped out. See that right here. These two books they really stick out kind of as a sore thumb on this list. Fantastic Four #5, first appearance of Doom, and Showcase #4, the first appearance of Barry Allen as a Flash. And I can't say exactly why these two stick out versus others, but for Fantastic Four #5, and I've talked about this again with a few people, I think we generally feel like for a lot of collectors, it ends up being a kind of like a book that you use as a stepping stone to get to another book that you want. So it's a big Silver Age key, but it's one that maybe you use to move up to a Fantastic Four #1, or an Amazing Fantasy 15, or Tales of Suspense 39, or something else. And so it ends up coming up for sale more often, being flipped more often. The other one was Showcase #4. Now, I wasn't really surprised to see that there. I do feel like I see that book come up a lot compared to its very small census. It has a census that's similar to a Golden Age book. It's like 450 total universal copies on the census. Very low compared to the rest of these. But I see it come up for sale quite a bit. I can't say why for sure, but I can say why from my perspective. So for me, Showcase #4, I don't like this cover. And so I am very much so a cover buyer. And so if I don't like a cover, it is very unlikely I'm going to keep a book. And I've had it happen where I've bought books, and when I got it in hand, I actually liked the cover a lot more than I thought I would. And I've had books where I've bought them, and when I've gotten them in hand, I like the cover a lot less than I thought I would. And when I've liked it less, I'm just like, I really don't want to keep this. You know, it might have been a book I was thinking about having as a keeper book, and I just end up selling it. And I wonder if maybe that happens with this book, you know, more often. It's not going to be everybody. Obviously, a lot of people keep this book and love this book, but is there a higher percentage of people that end up getting this book and deciding they don't want this one, or they want to use it to get something else? And so that's kind of the question here, is what about these two books ends up causing them to come up for sale more often relative to their census compared to other big Silver Age books? And we can only really speculate. I mean, a big part of it, I do think, is probably using it to get something else. Another part might be that people don't like the cover. I do like the cover of Fantastic Four #5, but I think that there are a lot of other big Silver Age keys that if I was going for them, I would be willing to let that book go to get another book, like Amazing Fantasy 15, Fantastic Four #1, Tales of Suspense 39, Hulk 1. Those are all books that I do really like from that Silver Age. And interestingly, they're the ones that are down near the bottom of this list, the ones that don't seem to come up for sale quite as often compared to their census. And so the one that I felt was most interesting was probably the Amazing Spider-Man #1, that it was the bottom one on the list. Now, I realize that these are not going to be statistically significant numbers, like compared to one another like this at this level. You're going to have a standard deviation. There's going to be a little bit of variance between them. And so we can probably assume that like at least these four down here are all approximately the same. You know, we'll say all like 3.5. And so Amazing Spider-Man 1, Fantastic Four 1, Tales of Suspense 39, Hulk 1. These are the ones that seem, relative to their census, seem to come up the least. Do people just love Iron Man a lot? Is Fantastic Four 1, it's that book that kicked off superheroes for Marvel. Maybe that one's just so important to people they don't want to sell it. Amazing Spider-Man 1, there's a lot of run collectors. You know, when they get their run done, they don't want to let that go. It breaks their run. Maybe that's a big part of it. Whereas Amazing Fantasy 15, it's not part of that run. Maybe they're willing to let it go just a little bit more. And then as you get up here, you've got more like teams, like the Avengers and Justice League. And, you know, maybe just some slightly less popular characters like Thor. I mean, Thor generally wasn't a very popular character until the MCU. And then just kind of in the middle, you know, we've got Hal Jordan with the Green Lantern, and Daredevil. I know that one, Daredevil 1, is not quite as popular of the Silver Age Grail, so I can see it coming up for sale more often. So just some things that maybe you would expect to see, but this to me puts it all on paper, you know, get some numbers behind it. But I feel like, yeah, the ones that really jumped out to me were Amazing Spider-Man 1, because I hear a lot of people kind of crap on that book. You know, they don't like the cover or whatever, and it doesn't have like a real major first appearance in it. The big first appearance is in Amazing Fantasy 15, and you don't have any of the real big villains in that one. They all start coming in issues 2 and 3 and 4 and all of that. And so I feel like that's one thing that gets insulted with this one, but at least with respect to the sell-through numbers, it is very low on that list. Now, yes, it has 124 that sold versus like 73 or 76, but its census is quite a bit bigger. This book came out a little bit later, so there are more books that are on the census available for that, you know, for that comic. But yeah, the other one though, that other side, Fantastic Four #5 and Showcase #4. I mean, you just kind of, I guess you got to call them like flip books, you know, like from the perspective of big Silver Age key comics, big Silver Age grails, like these are the flip books of that era. Same thing maybe with Daredevil #1, X-Men #1, Brave and the Bold 28, just books that people decide, you know, when they get it, they're just going to let them go, and they're going to try to get something else. But let me know what you think in the comments. I know this is a short one. I have looked at the Copper and Modern era. I've looked at Bronze. I've looked at Golden Age as well. And I thought I would make some separate videos about those. But let me know in the comments. Does this fit with what you experience, how you feel about these books? Are the ones kind of near the bottom here your more preferred Silver Age key comics, and the ones near the top little less desirable for you? I'm not saying they aren't desirable books. Obviously, people still love these books. They are very expensive. People want to collect them. This is still a relatively low percentage number, but there does seem to be a little bit of a difference with how likely someone is to let one of these books go. And when we're down near the bottom, those collectors are just a little less likely maybe to let these books go versus the ones up at the top. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you on the next one.